prior to joining Synapse, I was a retail producer for 15 years and had a relationship with Synapse. I think, the most profound moment for me in realizing the value of Synapse was, I guess, around 2010, and had a difficult account and thought I understood the market with respect to the account, and had relationships that were going to help provide a solution. And being a small retailer, I quickly learned that that wasn't necessarily the case. And it's at that moment that I reached out to Synapse and asked for some help. And it's also at that moment where I realized the strength of Synapse and their relationships in the market, because they were able to help me maintain that account. And at that point, I made the decision that it was more important to have all my business with Synapse than try to do these things on my own. And I say this to this day, because of Synapse, I kept business for a lot longer than I probably should have, and I won business that I never would have won if it were not for the relationships and the expertise that Synapse was bringing to the table for me.
Yeah, I spent 27 years as a retail broker, and then, but when you found certain relationships that brought value added, those were the ones that you latched onto. And I was fortunate enough in my career to find several of those that were, wholesalers, but they were more than that. They were what we call, we refer to at Synapse as down the hall resources, and that's really where, it started. It was kind of funny because I was working at McGriff, and the environmental resource came into me during two of my largest renewals and said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to another broker." And my heart sank because I didn't understand environmental, and that's that's why we were relying on all these resources. He said, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get you in touch with a guy named Ken Burrell, and he'll help you with it." So that's fantastic. And I'd known Ken during his AIG days, and so I hadn't seen him in quite a while. And what I found out was he was handling it anyway. So this guy had put everything through him. So it was a non-event, when it came to putting it. But it allowed me to re-engage and to learn the Synapse way and how the value that they brought to us. And I never once had a meeting that was environmental related that I wasn't sitting there and Ken wasn't sitting next to me, and Betsy and all these others that worked in the Atlanta office. So it allowed me to have an expertise that I would not have had otherwise.
Randy, you said something interesting. You said that your in-house environmental resource said he was leaving, but that Ken was already being engaged. Do you feel that the internal resource was afraid to bring to you as the producer that information, that he was going outside of the firm to help provide a solution?
Yeah, probably. I had a good relationship with him, and I'd known him for quite a while. But yes, I think I was not aware of it. I had no idea. But when I met Ken for the first time, he's like, "Don't worry about this. I've been handling it all along. So this is not an issue." So I think, probably he had a lot of reluctance in order to, to show that.
Yeah, I just, it's interesting because I just wonder about the perception that these folks have internally about, their usage of an external resource and how, they're going to be viewed by the producers that they're supporting in terms of, asking for help.
Well, I think, they look at it as a sign of weakness. But, Tom, you've done a great job of working with internal resources to show that it is it's a strength.
Yeah.
It's something that allows them to work on broader risks, more risks and stuff. So I think
I think one of the things for me, and my background's very different than both of you guys, is that I come from the carrier side, which for me was very interesting. And in dealing with Synapse on my side, it's always been, when you knew Synapse was engaged, it was a different reflection of a submission, right? The thoroughness of the submission made jobs a lot easier from an underwriting perspective for us. And whenever I knew that Synapse was engaged, while they were pains in the neck from an underwriting perspective, as we know, because they were so thorough about reviewing the client, the submission and activity, but you knew you were getting a thorough submission. And you knew what they were giving you guys was, or giving underwriting, was true and honest. And I think that's something that's reflective of all of us, right? And what we do today. And I just feel like it was something that made our jobs from a carrier side very, very easy.
I mean, would you not work with them more because you knew there was a better opportunity for you? I mean, you'd work harder for them because it wasn't just practicing.
I feel like when on the carrier side, that was absolutely the case. You knew you had an honest shot, right? They weren't going to shop you out, right? And you knew when you worked with Synapse, you had the true shot from a carrier side for sure.
And I think a lot of the folks at Synapse bring with them extensive underwriting backgrounds.
Yeah, no doubt.
So these are trained professionals here who understand exactly what the carriers are asking for, and so in many ways, we're doing the underwriting before we're approaching the underwriters themselves.
I think that's what sets us apart, right? Is that we actually are underwriting these risks before they go to the carriers. So the carriers, they're looking at these submissions as thorough. And I know you've dealt with this as well. Is that when the submissions come out, the thought behind whether we're manuscripting the policy or whether we're putting together true terms and conditions. And I always say to our underwriters, if they just pay attention to the submission that we put out, the terms and conditions that we're putting out, it'll put them in a very good position to win on that particular account.
The good news is I feel like that why Synapse question is a little bit easier to answer because the brand has been built, right? It's established. I think most retail brokers know the Synapse name as far as it relates to the environmental insurance industry. And that brand is now starting to become more commonly associated with, cyber liability and stock throughput and all of the other kind of burgeoning products that we've really been digging into with the specialty group. But look, pick a reason, right? I mean, there's 100 different reasons why Synapse provides value, not the least of which is Centralis, the people, the expertise, the experience level, the lineage, the innovation. You literally pick something out of a hat.
I
There's
mean,
100 reasons.
just to kind of echo what you're saying there, like when you look at like where we've come and what we've grown this into, like I was in a meeting the other day with one of my retailers, and I literally asked him, I said, what wholesaler do you know has in-house environmental lawyers on staff that can help with claims advocacy, with getting a claim paid when maybe it shouldn't be paid, who knows? But every one of them looked at me, Merch, and they just stared at me like, no one. Like, they're like, you actually have lawyers that get involved on your day-to-day transactions, like get involved and provide case law to back up what you're trying to do in this industry? It's unheard of. So the fact that Synapse is so far ahead of the curve on this stuff, and with the Centralis and the data collection system that we put out there to use from both a brokering aspect as well as from an underwriting aspect to get the rates that we need, I think it's absolute genius, right?
To learn more information about Synapse, please visit our website at synapsellc.com or look for Synapse Services LLC on YouTube or LinkedIn.